With tensions between Russia and Ukraine intensifying steadily, European countries are concerned that the flow of gas from Russia will be affected. Oksana Bedratenko looks at how Russia's actions against Ukraine may affect Europe's energy sector.
And Anna Rice narrates the story.
About 40% of the natural gas supplied to European countries like France, Poland, Germany, and Italy comes from Russia. Western powers are concerned Russia will create a pretext to disrupt the flow of gas moving to Europe through Ukraine.
What I do expect would be what I just said, some local incidents, possibly an attack on the Ukrainian pipeline. That's quite likely. And it would also give Russia an excuse to extricate itself from the long-term contract, the transmission contract that it has.
The US has alleged that Russia has a plan to stage an attack and use it as a reason to invade Ukraine. Russia has strongly denied the charge. Experts suspect Russia plans to use its energy supply as leverage to divide Europe. They point to disagreement in Europe over Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, which runs from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea. The project has been completed, but must still get the approval of regulators in Germany and the European Union. Deborah Kagan, a former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, says Russia's strategy is clear.
They're clearly, no question, using this as a political weapon to threaten Europe, and especially threaten those countries who they believe might have a role in approving Nord Stream 2. So Russia's ultimate goal is to get the European Union to change its antitrust rules to allow Russia to not only provide the gas, but own the pipelines and own the type of pressure and the amount of gas that goes through those pipelines.
The US and Europe have warned Russia about the consequences of its aggression toward Ukraine and say sanctions for any military action in the Ukraine will include Nord Stream 2.
With regard to Nord Stream 2, we continue to have very strong and clear conversations with our German allies, and I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
In order to help Europe deal with a potential gas crisis, the United States has approached Qatar and other energy-producing states about providing gas to Europe if Russia cuts off their supply. The International Energy Agency says U.S. exports of liquefied natural gas, or LNG, to Europe in the last quarter of 2021 jumped 40% from last year's totals. But experts say that won't be able to completely make up for the loss of Russian LNG in the short term.
In January, imports of LNG in Europe have been almost at record levels, and half of those were, in fact, from the US. So there has been a lot of US LNG coming to Europe.
Deborah Kagan believes, however, that a disruption of Russian supplies would directly affect not only Europe, but the US as well.
The United States, while it is telling Europe to cut off Russian gas, is importing about 18 million barrels a month of Russian oil into the United States.
For their part, European countries say they will continue to look for alternative sources of energy to replace their reliance on Russian gas.